Yep, you heard that right. Our guide for this explainer is a professional honey trapper. She's literally hired by suspicious partners to test their significant other's loyalty. She has seen it all, and believe me, she's got some crucial insights to share.
So let's get into it. Who is Madeline Smith? Well, she's the expert women turn to when they have that sinking feeling and just need to know the truth. Her job gives her this incredibly unique front-row seat to the patterns and behaviors of unfaithful men.
Okay, so let's be super clear on what a honey trapper does. A person like Smith gets hired to slide into DMs, send some flirty messages, and basically see if a partner will take the bait. It's a controversial gig, for sure, but man, does it give her a fascinating perspective on modern-day cheating.
Now you might be thinking this sounds a little sneaky, but Smith frames her work and all her advice not as snooping, but as a form of self-preservation. From her point of view, you have every single right to protect your heart and ensure your emotional safety in a relationship.
So, where do we start looking for these red flags? According to Smith, the first and most obvious clues are all hiding on that one device your partner carries absolutely everywhere: their phone.
And she wants you to ask yourself a really simple question. Think about it. When you're just chilling on the couch watching TV, or you're out to dinner, is his phone screen facing up for the world to see, or is it always flipped face down? And her logic here is just so on point. Smith argues that leaving a phone face down, that's not just some casual habit. It's a deliberate act. It's a choice. It practically forces you to wonder, what notification is he so terrified you might catch a glimpse of? And if he guards that passcode like it's a state secret, what's on there that's so important to hide?
For Smith, it really just boils down to this. She tells this great story about a failed test where the husband she messaged immediately turned to his wife and showed her the DMs. That, she says, is the gold standard. Transparency isn't about giving up your privacy. It's about having nothing to hide from your partner in the first place.
Okay, this next digital sign is, well, it's super specific. And for Smith, it is a massive red flag. She does not mince words on this one.
Whoa, that's a pretty bold statement, right? But her reasoning is that the app's entire main feature, messages that disappear, is basically tailor-made for sketchy conversations. She warns that in her experience, adult men are almost always using it for one thing: sending and receiving explicit photos they don't want any record of.
And the final piece of this digital puzzle is location. Look, we live in a world where sharing your location with your partner is pretty normal, right? So if your partner's location is constantly and mysteriously off, especially with no good reason, it should make you wonder.
So this pattern of secrecy, it doesn't just stay on his private phone screen. It often bleeds right out into his public life, specifically his social media. And according to Smith, that can be just as revealing. I want you to do something. Go take a quick scroll through his Instagram or his Facebook feed. Do you see yourself anywhere? Or has your entire existence been completely wiped from his online life?
And here's the thing you have to remember. Not posting you, that's a choice. Smith is crystal clear on this. A partner should be proud to show you off. If his social media profile makes him look totally single, it probably means he wants to appear that way for a reason.
All right, so we've covered the digital breadcrumbs. Now, we're going to wade into some much trickier territory: the psychological tactics and the emotional shifts that Smith says are classic, textbook signs of a cheater.
One of the absolute biggest psychological tells is just blatant hypocrisy. You need to notice if he's creating a massive double standard. Maybe he demands to have your location shared 24/7, but insists on his own privacy. Or maybe he gets all jealous about your male friends, but he's freely posting photos with a bunch of other women. So what's going on in their head? Why do they do this? Smith argues it comes from a really deep-seated insecurity. Cheaters often project their own untrustworthy behavior onto their partners because, at their core, they have fragile egos that need constant validation from other people. And that insecurity leads right into another classic move. You bring up a totally valid concern, and suddenly, boom, the tables are turned and you're the one on the defensive. Think about it. When you question him, does he immediately call you crazy or insecure? That's not a defense. That's a tactic. It's called projecting. He's literally taking his own guilt and his own actions and pinning them on you. Smith says a healthy response to a partner's concern would be shock and reassurance, not an attack.
And finally, there's the slow fade. This isn't one big, dramatic fight. It's a quiet, creeping distance. Does he seem completely checked out during conversations?
have all the little compliments and affections just stopped. Smith warns that this kind of emotional withdrawal is one of the most powerful red flags there is.
So after all the phone secrecy, the weird social media behavior, and the psychological games, Smith says there is one signal that is more reliable, more powerful than anything else.
At the end of the day, it all comes down to your gut feeling. Smith says that almost every single client who ever hires her starts the conversation with the exact same phrase, "Something just doesn't feel right." And sadly, they're almost always correct.
And that right there, that's the real trap, isn't it? We are so good at trying to rationalize weird behavior because facing the alternative is just too painful. But Smith's ultimate piece of advice is to stop making excuses for them and start listening to that little voice inside you that's screaming that something is wrong.
You know, when you look at all these signs, from the hidden phones to the hidden feelings, they all point back to one central problem: a total breakdown in transparency. And it leaves us with a really critical question for all modern relationships. In an age where keeping secrets is easier than ever, is the only real path forward a commitment to total, radical openness? Definitely something to think about.